What is up, YouTube? Today I am building a homemade lathe. Now, a lathe is something I've always wanted to buy. I've always wanted one, but they're super expensive, so I could never afford one. So today I am building one from scratch. Now, for the past week I've been going to the scrapyard and buying a bunch of material. I bought something offline, and I finally think I have enough parts to finally get started building this thing. So I'm just going to show you guys what I have and tell you guys what my basic idea is of how I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to get started building this. So not going to really explain much in the beginning, but I will explain as I'm going through this video. So yeah, first things first, I have a 5-inch lathe chuck that I got off of Amazon for $100. Came with this and this stuff. So to put it on, I have this and this. Be putting this onto here. This is temporary, and all that's going to be going right there, just like a normal lathe. So for the lathe bed, I bought this I-beam that's 5 feet long. I bought this for $20 at the scrapyard. I'm going to be using this as my lathe bed because it's perfectly smooth. Has this edge right here, and you know, this is basically where my carriage is going to be sliding back and forth. So this is going to be perfect for my lathe bed. For the material for the carriage, the headstock, and all that kind of stuff, I have this stuff. I bought this and this, which is 3/8 by 8 feet long. This is I don't know how thick this stuff is, but this is less than 8 feet long. I bought these both at the scrapyard for $20. This is super cheap, you know, compared to if I bought this stuff brand new. And this basically is brand new. I mean, there's no rust on this stuff. So, great deal on this stuff. So I'm going to be using this and also this miscellaneous stuff for all the carriage, the headstock, the tailstock, and all that kind of stuff. So for the motor, I wanted to use this, but this this is actually a 2.75 horsepower electric motor off of a treadmill. Now, I took these wires and I took an old electrical cord that I had, hooked the wires up, plugged this thing in, and this thing just jumped around on the table really bad, and it blew a fuse in my fuse box. So didn't realize that this thing only runs off of DC, and then I took one of my drill batteries and hooked it up, and this thing ran perfect off a drill battery. So I kind of want to save this motor, even though this electric motor would be perfect. It's 2.5 horsepower, or more than 2.5 horsepower. This motor would be perfect for this lathe. I'm going to save it for an electric bicycle. So I'm not going to use that. What I'm going to use is I have this 1 horsepower, which is a lot bigger of a motor, but yet it's only 1 horsepower electric motor that I'm using for my bandsaw. I'm going to take this off, use it for the lathe, and I'm going to be buying a new motor for this bandsaw, because this bandsaw is way overpowered with this motor. When I bought this bandsaw, it had a 3/4 horsepower electric motor. That burned out, and I replaced it with that. And so, anyway, I'm going to be using that for the motor, and that's going to be going basically right here, right to there. So yeah, I honestly don't really know how I'm going to do this. I have a general idea of how I'm going to build it. I'm going to try and do, you know, I'm going to try and do it exactly like a normal lathe that you would buy offline, but I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it yet. The finer details is still a bit fuzzy, so I'm just going to get started building this thing. I'll explain as I'm going along the way of this video, and yeah, let's get started. Alright, so for the first thing to do, I need to surface this thing, get this thing all nice and smooth, and then I need to take this edge and make it completely flat. Now, I'm going to have to do that by hand, but I think I can get it pretty good. I need to get it flat and perfectly straight through the whole thing, otherwise this thing's going to be fucked up. So, first thing, let's get this thing nice and smooth. Alright, now let's move on to whatever this thing is. Alright, so now that I got this surface completely smooth, next I need to make this surface and this surface right here completely 90 degrees and completely flat, no bumps, and so right now it's kind of curled over. It's not a perfect straight line. I need to make it a straight line, and I need to make it perfectly 90 degrees so there's more surface area for it to hit. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, so I think I got it pretty good. I know it's not going to be 100% perfect. Once I build the carriage, I'll be able to slide the carriage back and forth and mark the high spots on this thing on both sides. And then I'll be able to take down the high spots and get this thing completely perfect. Once this is completely perfect, then I'll smooth it all out with a flapper disc. But for now, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to call it good and move on to the next stage, I guess. Alright, so I just got back from my college that I'm going to. I brought that 8-foot piece of, what was it, 5/8? 5/8 thick steel. I brought that, the other piece, and this thing to work on. The first thing I did there was I had my machine shop teacher drill a 1.5, almost a 1.5 inch hole into this piece of metal, and then I stuck this this hub in there, brought it back to my welding shop, and I TIG welded this thing on. Can this camera focus? So yeah, I think it looks pretty good TIG weld, you know, pretty decent. And shit. So that's good. That's that. That goes on to there, just like that, and then this attaches to that. So now what's next for this thing is I need to figure out where in the world I need to drill those 3 holes to bolt that onto there, and then I'm going to be welding this onto the axle. I know you guys probably are saying I shouldn't do that, but it's going to help me. It's going to make this thing solid, no slipping, no, you know, it's going to be solid on there. So that's why I'm doing it. I also brought, like I said, that 5/8 piece of steel. I cut this out, and I cut this out. This is the motor plate. This is going to be going behind here. This is what the motor is going to be bolting onto, so cut that out. And cut this out. Pretty horrible cut, but the torch I was using was not set up for this thick of steel. So cut this out. This is going to be the bottom part of my carriage. This is the part that's going back and forth. I cut this out because I thought that this was going to be for this part. This is the thing in front where the handle's attached to that make it slide back and forth. But I was thinking, like, this is way too thick. Then I realized I have this. This is almost the exact same size, but it's a lot thinner of steel. So not very thin, not you know, it's a little bit thinner, but it's perfect for this. This is going to be going right here. So this is going to be attached right there, and then for the back, I'm going to be using this. This is going to be going on the back, and all that stuff. So I have these ugly acetylene torch cuts that I need to clean up, and this is where this baby comes in. I just bolt these things into here, and I'm able to clean these up with this thing. So the next step is a lot of grinding, a lot of cleaning up these ugly edges, and a lot of truing up. So it's going to be a lot of grinding. I'm not going to film all of it just because I know grinding is very boring. So yeah, I'm going to get started. Alright, so I finally got these done. Took me forever to grind them last night. They're pretty good. They're not perfect, but for what I need them to be, they're pretty good. So this is going to be the bottom part of the carriage. This is the part that's going to be going back and forth right here. This is going to be going right there. And all I really need to do is drill 4 holes into here, drill them into there, so I can tap some threads into there, so I can screw these screws in there. 1/4 inch by 20 screws. I got a couple of these. I'm going to be using 4 of them for each side, and then I'm going to do the same thing on this side with this. So yeah, let's start drilling some holes. Oh my god. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Fuck! Alright, so yes, I did break a tap in this hole, but thank God I was able to get it out. All I did was I took my Dremel tool and I cut a slit into that thing, and I took this tiny screwdriver and stuck it in there, and I was able to screw it out, thank God. Otherwise, that would have been a really bad nightmare. Would have probably, if I couldn't have gotten this out, I would have just ground it flush, drill a hole next to it, and tap that. Just so I could have, you know, 5 bolts on this thing. But thank God I was able to get this thing out, and not really sure why it broke. I'm thinking that maybe it slipped off of this thing, because this is the only thing I have to hold these stupid taps. But maybe it like slipped off of that, and the shock of that made it break. I don't know, but I went to Ace Hardware and bought another one. So let's finish this hole and hope to God this one doesn't break in there. So once I get this one finished, all of them are done, and I'm ready to put this plate on here. So yeah, let's get going. Alright, so I finally got this thing done. Got all the bolts drilled and tapped, and put this thing on. It's a perfect 90 degrees, and it looks pretty good. It's perfectly, you know, centered. It only took me 2 days to make this thing, so making the entire carriage, it's going to take me a long time. So that's what it looks like. That's what where it's going to go. Slides back and forth, and I decided to go with 5 holes instead of 4 like I previously said, because I am putting the handle on this part, and also the stuff to make it go back and forth, I'm putting it on this part, so I want this nice and strong so it doesn't break. So next thing to do is take this piece, cut it to the same length as this, and bolt it onto here. I'm only going to do 3 holes this time, because it took me, I think it took me like 2.5 hours to drill and tap these holes. So doing 3 of them would you know, take less. So yeah, let's get to work. Alright, so now that we got half of the bottom of the carriage figured out, got that side on and got this side on, let's, we need to figure out, dang it, let's see if I can break, this thing doesn't look heavy, but when you're trying to pick it up with one hand, yeah. Alright, so it goes there. It's a bit of wobble right now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill more holes right in the middle of this and then stick a piece of steel in between this so I can adjust how tight it is and get rid of all that play. So got this halfway figured out. Now this is kind of my general setup of how I'm going to temporarily mount this, minus the big sprocket in the back. That's just keeping it from falling over. So next I need to figure out the other piece of the carriage, the part that goes this way. So I need to and at first I was thinking, because originally I bought this 7/8 thick steel from the scrapyard, and I was originally thinking about making that part of the upper carriage, but I was looking at it and this stuff is way too thick. I mean, 7/8 of an inch thick, that's too thick. So went to the scrapyard again and bought this piece of 1/2 inch, and also that's 1/2 inch. So got this for $12 at the scrapyard. You cannot beat that. So this is what I'm going to be using for the rest of the carriage. I need to figure out tonight how big it is and how big it needs to be so I can bring that to my school and cut it there at my school and bring it back here and then grind all the edges perfectly flat. I could grind it or I could cut it here with my angle grinder and a cutoff disc, but that would take forever, and it's just easier to bring it to my school and figure out or just cut it there. So, you know, so tonight I need to figure out how big it needs to be, so tomorrow when I go there for class I can bring it there and cut it there. So yeah.